The lightsaber is by far the most iconic weapon in all of cinema. So when VR started to get popular, I think it was at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. After a few years of VR being around, we've got quite a few options, but which one does it best? Now, sorry for the bad footage on this first game, because this is the oldest game on our list, and therefore they didn't quite have it right for recording. This is Lightblade VR, which is honestly a fun little experience. It's only $5 on Steam, and honestly, I'd say it's worth it. Most of the game is deflecting bolts, which honestly is something that a lot of these games don't always quite get right. But in this game, it's honestly one of the best of the bunch. I played it with one controller instead of two because I just thought that'd be fun, and it was. And it's a fun little experience. For $5, if you're expecting a game that is on the older side, I think you'll have a bit of fun with this. And even though it's at the bottom of the list, I think I'll come back to this if I just want to deflect some bolts and have a quick little gaming session. This next game is called Saber Fight VR. It's a bit more on the expensive side at $24 on Steam, but for what you get, it's not bad. It's a bit more of a complete experience, with a bit of a story and missions to complete. The laser deflection itself is probably the least satisfying of all of the games on this list, and a lot of the saber combat isn't great, but there are some really cool physics things you can do. You can use the force, you can cut up boxes, and for that it actually feels quite fun. It was a little bit janky. Trying to hold the lightsaber with two hands was very, very difficult, but it's the type of thing that you could probably get used to if you really got into this game. However, unlike Lightblade VR, I don't really think I would recommend this game. It's cool and it's bigger in scope, and some of the technical aspects are very impressive for what it is, but I don't think it's really as fun. I think it's too janky to really feel fun. Though, with that being said, I did still have fun with some of the dismemberment. So, it's the type of thing that maybe if you tried it, you might enjoy it. Just personally, I didn't find it as fun as the rest of the items on this list. This next game is Trials on Tatooine by ILM. This game was made as a little experiment back when VR was first getting popular, and it's probably my favorite on this entire list. The only problem is it's only a 5 or so minute experience, but those 5 minutes are honestly incredible. The deflection feels like nothing else on this list. Even the Vader Immortal series, made by the same developers. Something about this just gets it right. The way that the boxes will move if you hit them with a deflected bolt. The way that the effects and the sounds all come together. To me, when it comes to deflecting blasters, this is my favorite. However, of course, this game doesn't have any lightsaber dueling, which of course we'll get into later. But it's free, so you're not losing anything by downloading it. So if you have PC VR, give this a go. I think it's one of the most fun little experiences you'll have for VR. Next is Vader Immortal. I think Vader Immortal is probably the best Star Wars VR game overall, but I'm not sure if I feel the same about specifically the lightsabers. Now look, the lightsabers are excellent, and so far they are definitely the best. I don't think they're quite as satisfying as the Trials on Tatooine lightsabers, but they are a lot more functional. You can throw them, you can deflect bolts, you can use the Force. There's so much more that you can do in this game that I feel it definitely is better on a technical level. For whatever reason, to me, the lightsabers in this game just feel a little lighter than the ones on Trials on Tatooine, and therefore they feel like they have so much less power and weight behind the swings. And I don't know what it is about this. It's just not quite as satisfying. However, the gameplay is a lot better. What you're seeing right now is the arcade style mode, and this is very fun, but Vader Immortal really shines in its story. The story is excellent, and I would definitely recommend this game to anyone, but if you're specifically looking for the best lightsaber physics, this might not be the one. The game that I've defined as having the best lightsabers in VR probably won't be a surprise to anyone that watches a lot of this channel, but it's gotta be Blade and Sorcery. Of course, Blade and Sorcery on its own is a sword fighting game, but with the modder Kingo64 with his incredible Outer Rim mod, this game is turned into what I believe to be the best Star Wars lightsaber game on all of VR. Blade & Sorcery's engine does a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to the physics and the weight of the lightsabers, but what Kingo has managed to do is make pretty much every lightsaber in this huge mod completely faithful to the source material. When you switch on one of these lightsabers for the first time in VR, you will feel like you are holding a real lightsaber, and it's honestly quite incredible. Pretty much every other item in this list has thrived when it came to blocking blaster bolts, and Blade & Sorcery doesn't really have that. In fact, this game probably has the least assists than any of the other games on this list. The other games made you feel like a Jedi because you would move the lightsaber and it would just sort of work. The bolts would deflect, or if you're in a duel, you would just win. But in Blade & Sorcery, you really have to try to be skillful. There's so much skill behind it that you're only going to feel like a Jedi if you work for it. But eventually, when you do start hitting those very cinematic feeling swipes at someone with a lightsaber, or have one of those really long, prolonged duels, you feel a lot more accomplished. It definitely isn't the most authentic Star Wars experience. That would definitely go to Vader Immortal. But if you want to have the most realistic feeling lightsaber in all of VR, Blade & Sorcery with the Outer Rim mod is an absolute 100% best way to go.